Hey y'all, happy Sunday. Welcome to another What Else is Going On, aka We Go podcast episode. I'm your girl, your host, Taria. I hope y'all are having a beautiful Sunday. For those of y'all that watched my video yesterday, which if you're listening to the audio version, please head on over to YouTube, y'all. Type in WEIGO podcast and just subscribe. Over there. We get into all the things. And I did a video yesterday, and in the beginning, I talked about going out because me and Corey's anniversary is Monday, I was going to say the 24th, Monday the 15th. We'll be married 24 years, one more day. We had such a good time last night. Anybody that live in the DMV or Baltimore area, if y'all been to the Comedy Factory, let me know. Child, every last comedian was so funny. The openers and then the headliner, Tony Roberts, I think. When I tell you, we had such a good time last night. It was really nice. Came back, sat on the deck, and just had a really, really good time. So I was finally able to get up this morning and come bring all this Orange County review. So let's get into it. Y'all, I literally glitched for a minute, like, child, where am I again? Girl, get yourself together. Come back, come back. So, Real Housewives of Orange County, season 19. Oh, I didn't grab the episode. Hold on, y'all. Episode 10, Wine or Champagne, aka Champagne. So, we start the episode. Shannon is getting Botox. Child Sophie, her daughter, is horrified. Like, you getting needles in your face. Shannon said, I have no problems. This is what's needed in life for the face. I said, well, I'm 48. I haven't ventured into Botox. If I feel like I need to, I will, but hopefully, I think I'm doing good so far. Anyway, moving on. Jen, Ryan, and her son, I think Dominic are watching that ugly Cybertruck. I'm sorry, y'all. I think they ugly. I think they look like when the back windows open, been riding behind them. I think they look like big trash boxes, like dumpsters on wheels. I don't know, but y'all might like them. Y'all let me know what y'all think. Heather is opening boxes. Did y'all like that Fendi hat she had? Sometimes people just like stuff for the labels. But anyway, we're back at the spa with Shannon. Sophie's getting a facial. Shannon says, look, I encourage my daughters to do all the natural face care because, as we all know, facelifts are expensive. And then they show the headline of John Jansen suing Shannon for $75,000 for that facial that she got. I mean, for that facelift. So I guess, okay, she got the facelift, what, like 2 years ago? Right? You think it was like 2 years ago? How quick does, uh, in my naivete, in my naiveness, I was thinking a facelift, you wouldn't need to go and then get Botox like 2 or 3 years later. But I guess it could be preventative. I don't know. I was just thinking once they pull all that back, that you be good to go and you might not need Botox anymore. I guess that was really naive of me. I didn't know that. So moving on, she gets today words, y'all. Let me slow down. She gets a FaceTime from Tamra inviting her to go to Temecula. Shannon is very hesitant. She's like, look, I know where Tamra and I have been, but I also know how low she could go. I am fine. And I feel like it truly makes Shannon like nervous, like skittish when she's talking to Tamra. And I know it's easier said than done, but I want her to like buck up and just talk to her. Like, yeah, I'll go. No, I ain't gonna go. All right, yeah, I'll go. Hope we have a good time. I ain't trying to deal with none of your ish. So we gonna have a good time, right? Like I just wish that she would, but we know Shannon operates in chaotic energy a lot, all over the place, skitsy type, like skittish, I mean, type energy. So in her confessional, she does say she's hesitant to go on the trip. She wants to hang up the phone, but she also knows Tamara is trying to better herself. She don't know what Tamara she gonna get. Is she gonna get the one in New Orleans where she was laughing with, or the one that's gonna end up in a hurtful argument? I say both. So then we get Emily and Tamara. At the same time, we're going to get, so Emily and Tamara meet up to shop. Gina, Jen, and Shannon meet up to eat. Emily debuts a new confessional look. I have that in my notes. Probably one of the best ones she's ever had. Ever. Ever. And then when they flash to that other one and her in that black dress, it's like, oh. But yeah, that her new one is the best one she's ever had. See? I can give just dues where just dues are due. Moving on. She talks about how tired she is because Annabella had a cheerleading competition. Gina was there because her daughter, I forget her name. I know it starts with an S. Sienna is also a cheerleader. So basically, she had to get up and do her hair. She had to do her hair and makeup 5 o'clock in the morning to get on the road by 7 because the competition was at 9. And she was there all day. But she says in her confessional, she wants to make sure that she has a relationship with her oldest daughter, a connection, because of the amount of time that they pour into Luke and dealing with his issues. And that's really hard for a parent. If you do have a child that may be dealing with issues that require a lot of time and attention, or if you have a child that's a little bit wayward and you may be constantly going up to the school or dealing with this, the other kids can feel like in their minds, it's like, oh, she cares for them or loves them more. She spends more time, but you're just trying to make sure that child gets the attention they need. So it can be a hard balancing act. So shout out to Emily for even thinking like, okay, no matter how tired I am or how whatever, I need to make sure that each child gets what they need from me. Right. So that's good. So back, we're with Gina, Jen, and Shannon, and Jen talks about how she got the call from Tamara inviting her on the trip. Gina got hers. Shannon said, I don't want to pursue the old friendship with Tamara. I'm good where I'm at. I don't want it. I don't need it. I don't want it. Like she's like, I'm good. So back at the store, Tamara tells Emily, I called Shannon and when I called the girl, she was a hot mess. Her hair was sticking up, her boobs were hanging out of her shirt. And I said, see, this is exactly what Shannon meant. You couldn't even, to me, it's just all very like, why did you even have to say that? Was it true? I mean, maybe a little bit. At the same time, like they say your outer appearance and like say your home and your space, your cars, your areas reflect where you are mentally. And to me, that's what it looks like with Shannon. Her outside is manifesting what's really going on, like inside of her. Um, so she says, she tells Emily how she felt like Shannon basically was like, I'm not interested, you know, I don't want to do this. And I feel like in Tamara's mind, it's like it's the show. She's supposed to say, yes, we're supposed to move on. That's what we do. We fight and we move on. But I don't think she realizes some of the stuff she does can actually have real life consequences for people. Some of the stuff she says, right? And it's just, they're not reads, they're just being nasty and hurtful. So that sometimes there is no show or not, just no easy moving on, right? Anyway, in her confessional, Tamara says she thinks her delivery was harsh last year, but they also have a lot of history. And that's it. Part of that good history includes a cycle of the nastiness. And I'm thinking maybe Tamara never got over. She felt like when she got fired from the show, those seasons, or her contract wasn't renewed, however you want to say it, that Shannon just kind of left her high and dry. Fair point, too. But are you going to move on? Because I feel like that's where a lot of this may stem from, right? I don't know. So back at the restaurant, Shannon tells the lady she was so upset she called her therapist. And her therapist said, look, you've been very clear with where you're able to exist with Tamara. So Jen says, look, just come for Gina and me. Shannon said, and I told my therapist, y'all were going to say, just come for y'all. So they end up convincing her to go. Jen said, the thing is, I always have fun with her. She is a good time. Shannon said, yeah, until you don't have fun with her, then it sucks. I agree. It's like she's fun. She's a great time until she isn't. Gina said, look at it like you have possibilities to move on. Now we're at Heather's podcast, recording in Beverly Hills, the studio, podcast one. Heather says she likes to use the podcast to promote voices that aren't normally heard. She had Dylan Mulvaney on. Heather played her mom in a music video, and she talks about trans issues and issues she's faced as being a trans woman. I think I'm saying that. She's a trans woman. And she shares, the different issues she went through. She's really pretty, the Dylan. And as soon as they said Dylan Mulvaney, I was like, that's Dylan Mulrooney. And I'm like, wait, no, I don't think that's the same person. And it wasn't just because the name sounded similar. So Heather talks about, look, all her kids, they're different. They have different they have different sexualities that they're attracted to. I forget, I was trying to use the word she used, but basically she has kids that are in the LGBT community. So she feels like she's been given her kids for a reason. She said that she's very supportive to the community. Again, she has kids in the community, and it's very personal to her because her kids are in that community. It's very personal to her. And I shout out to Heather for being an understanding, supportive parent because we know there are so many parents that aren't, and kids are left homeless. Kids have taken their lives, So shout out to, I will give Heather that, shout out to her for being supportive. Sometimes it takes, unfortunately, it for something to affect you and yours for you to see, you know what? Oh wow, I didn't realize, because you could be so isolated in your own bubble. So again, kudos to Heather for being so supportive. Now we're with Emily and Jen volunteering at the animal place. Child, when they was cleaning that kitten, I'm a mom. So to throw up the this, to that, I get all that stuff, but I'm not an animal. Like I don't own, I'm not an animal sometimes. I don't have animals. So I just was kind of like, animals make me nervous. They just do. But my husband and kids love animals. So child, my youngest said she was joking, but she was like, you robbed us of our childhood. Cause I was like, ain't no dog. Nope. You're welcome to get them when you move in your own places. But my husband grew up with animals. So a part of me feels like, should I have let them? But at that time, I grew up afraid of animals. So, it is what it is. Maybe Caesar Milan. Nah, I was going to say I'll call Caesar Milan. Maybe he could get me out of being afraid of animals, but I didn't go on this long. So Jen asked Emily about Luke and diagnosis and all of that, like how she received any results back. She says she hasn't. And she doesn't know how to regulate his emotions. So then she coddles him. They show a flashback to him at dinner. He was trying to lay down at the table. They're telling him to sit up. And somebody asked, well, do you want to move and sit by me? And Shane is like, stop enabling this behavior. This is for attention. So Emily is like, is it for attention or is it a part of what he's dealing with? The therapist said that he doesn't connect with anyone in the house. So in Shane's mind, he feels like Emily's rewarding the bad behavior. And then Luke also knows that his brother and sister are irritated by him. So Luke asked her if he could go to therapy too because he's really sad and has nobody to talk to. And I felt like, man, he's a kid, and to have these feelings, you don't, and he doesn't know how to process them, and he knows something different is going on with him, and I'm sure his brother and sister try, but in their minds they can't because they're not going through it, right? So I can understand Emily as a parent, and then Emily and Shane trying to navigate it. So, there's been discourse of whether or not she should be sharing all of this, and there's a part of me that feels like she could be helping parents out there whose children are going through the exact same thing and they don't know what to do. And now they could be like, wait a minute, oh, my child does this, because as a mom, that's how I feel. But then also as a mom, you want to protect your children, right? My kids are grown and there's still certain things I would ask them, oh, can I tell that? If it related to something I was talking about, I would ask them, is it okay if I share that? I wouldn't just share. And they have agency. You know what I mean? So I kind of go back and forth. What do y'all think? So Luke asked her to go to therapy. And she said that she doesn't want it to be that she's so focused on Luke that it's detrimental to her other children. So Jen, I think, gave her really good advice and told her, don't do the mom guilt stuff. Some things you can fix, some you can't. The ladies are packing to go to Temecula. Travis tells Gina it's not normal for her to get a brand new wardrobe every trip she goes on. I said, oh, what? They're new to clothes that we're seeing? Heather calls Emily via FaceTime and invites Emily and Gretchen to do a sleepover at her place and go out to dinner and maybe go to a bar. In her confessional, Heather said it's the perfect opportunity for her to spend time with them. She knows that what Emily's been going through with Luke is stressful. So for her to get away for 24 hours would be great. And so Emily was with Luke when Heather called. So when they hang up, Emily tells Luke, you need to babysit Shane. He said, I need $10. And she was like, you need money to babysit your dad? And child, Luke said, you pay my babysitter. I said, well, I know that's right. Tell her, Luke, you pay my babysitter. If I'm doing their job with my dad, run me my check. All I need is some water and my check. So back at Tamara's house, Tamara shows Sophie a book that says, I could get this for Shannon if she gets in a mood. And it's How Not to Be a Miserable Cow. And I love how Sophie said, you just can't help yourself. This is really passive aggressive. So Tamara's like, well, it's in case she wants to be miserable. It's like, y'all not even in a place to be joking like that. Sophie said, you just can't help yourself but be petty. And Tamara finds it funny. Gina is telling Travis that Tamara's relationship with Jen and Shannon are bad, and she feels like she's gonna be directly in the middle. Travis said, "Oh, you definitely gonna be directly in the middle." So she tells Travis, "Look, when I was with Tamara in New Orleans, it's like, oh wait, hold on." Gina was telling Travis because I was looking at my notes. So Gina told Travis when her and Tamara were in New Orleans, she was talking about Tamara and Shannon's relationship. You know, one step forward, one step back. But then she does see Shannon making steps, but she's afraid. She doesn't want Shannon to take any steps back because there was a lot of drinking and partying and having fun. So Gina's just like, I don't want Shannon to take steps back. I want her to keep moving forward and doing good. And then she says, I just hope Tamara doesn't say anything to Shannon about that to make it worse. To me, this is why I said like Gina's producing because you know Tamara by now. You know she gonna bring it up. That's why you told her. So you can act like it's out of concern, and it may well be, but come on, we know that Tamara's gonna bring it up. So Gina, Tamara, Shannon, and Jen are all together. They're driving to Temecula. Shannon shows us how she lost the flipper in her tooth. It's been a couple years. In the meanwhile, Emily and Gretchen are on their way to Heather's. They bring some Fireball. Emily says she wants to loosen up, basically to perfectly coiffed Gretchen. So they bring Fireball. So back with the Temecula crew, Shannon, I guess they're maybe driving past Vineyards, and she's like, how many, if you have some planted in your yard, like I guess vines, how many does it take to make a bottle? And they were like, what are you talking about? So Jen is like, here we have Deep Thoughts by Shannon. So then they do a cute little, Jen says, Deep Thoughts by Shannon. Child Shannon is like, her dad had an avocado mountain, planted avocado trees, and was going to build a house, but it didn't work out. And they were all just cracking up. Jen said, do you hear this stuff? In the meantime, Gretchen and Emily arrive to have their sleepover. It's really, really pretty. Child, she had a sleepover consultant and she had a sleepover butler. I said, okay. Emily thinks he's cute and says, where can I get one of those? And he says, I'm available anytime. In her confessional, she said, I'm going to end up divorced after this season. Isn't it crazy how they're acknowledging seasons and stuff now when years ago they couldn't even say certain things? They arrive in Temecula, the Temecula crew. Tamara gives Shannon the primary room. She says, I'm doing everything I can to make Shannon comfortable. When in actuality, it seems like it's making Shannon really uncomfortable. And I think the reason it's making Shannon uncomfortable is because she knows with Tamara, she's not doing it nice. She's not doing something nice for her because she truly wants to move forward, but will understand if Shannon's like, thank you for the room. I'm just not ready to move forward. It won't go like that. It'll be more like, what do you mean you're not willing to move forward? See how I go out of my way? I gave you the nice room. I was nice when I invited you. I gave you that. So it always comes with something, an expectation tied to it. And I think that makes Shannon nervous because Shannon is like, I really, truly ain't trying to be close to her again, but that's going to be the expectation that comes with her going out of her way. So while Tamara's trying to make her comfortable, Shannon's like, no, thank you. Now let's be clear. Shannon got her ways too. Shannon ain't innocent. But when it comes to this, I feel exactly where Shannon is. So they go get their bags ready for the wine tasting. Child, Shannon got so many bags. Shannon got a food bag because she making breakfast in the morning. So she needs some type of special blender. She got baking sheets, bakeware. Girl, they were cracking up. Back at the sleepover with Emily and Gretchen. Heather said it's her first sleepover party. So Emily says they analyzed Tamara on their ride there, her and Gretchen. They show 1 hour earlier. And Emily saying, I wouldn't say that Tamara's a girl's girl. She seems like the type that's always been friends with guys. Then she mentions Tamara bringing up the former fatty photo of Jen and says, I feel like Tamara feels insecure. And so that's why she brought up that photo of Jen. I said, well, Heather says, Jen and Tamara are fresh. And Emily said, yeah, but Heather's saying Jen and Tamara are fresh and good, like meaning they're fresh. They're starting over is fresh. Emily says I might have ruined it. So by talking about the fatty photo to Jen, she brings up the fatty photo again when it was just her and Jen. Her and Jen had went out before. Heather's making excuses and like, no, 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 guys. She wasn't showing me the photo to say she's a fatty. She's showing me the photo to say what she used to look like. And now she changed her look to look more like me. So Gretchen says in her confessional, Heather's scared of Tamara. She looks the other way, but with everybody, she'll litigate everybody else's issue. But when it comes to Tamara, she acts like she don't see it. So Emily says in the scene, I feel like Jen is going to bring up the photo. And Heather's like, I disagree. I can see what Heather's saying. Like, Tamara showed me this photo because Tamara kept saying Jen is basically trying to morph into me. Look how she used to look. And then look at her now, like me. At the same time, Tamara, no. The fact that they're calling it a fatty photo, we find out it was basically Gina that put that title in. Heather never said that. Anyway, I think Heather said in that scene that Jen was heavier. And I don't think that's a bad thing. If you look, you could look at my photos from 3 years ago and say, oh, Taria was heavier then. You know what I'm saying? You're not calling me a fatty back then. You're just saying, but we know with this group just so. We're back in Temecula. They all get ready to go out. They get on motorcycles, four of them. Ciao. Shannon is dealing with allergies and something flew out of her nose and flew on Jen's glasses and on them. I said, I can't even talk about it because I'd have been sick. But on their way there, Tamara says, I can guarantee you Heather's not doing this at her sleepover. What sleepover would y'all have rather went to? I want to go to Heather's. That's what I want to do. Where would y'all be? Can we add in a winery though? That would have been cool to go to the winery and be at Heather's, but I would rather have done that so far. I wouldn't have wanted to get on the bike and all that. I mean, I wouldn't, if we did it, we did it, but I would rather be with the other girls on that trip. But y'all let me know what y'all think. Back at Heather's sleepover, Emily, Gretchen, and Heather are taking the pictures. Um, and then, oh yeah, so we're kind of doing a back and forth. We got Heather, Gretchen, Emily, Tamra, Shannon, Jen, and Gina. So they're just going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, right? So as Emily, Heather, and Gretchen are walking to the restaurant, paparazzi comes up out of nowhere and goes, I just want you to know, I believe you. I know that you did not call the paparazzi on her and Terry. And Emily in her confessional is like, girl, what are the chances we're running into this random paparazzi to come and say, we know you didn't call the paparazzi. So the paparazzi person says, I know the person personally that took the picture. We know you didn't do it. And Heather's like, thank you. Thank you so much. The paparazzi person said, I know who shot it. I know who set it up. So Emily said in her confessional, is this a paid actor? I said, like your polygrapher. But child, a polygrapher could be legit. Okay, I'm just saying. So they get to the restaurant. They order drinks, and Gretchen wants Fireball. The man is like, no, man, we don't carry that in this fine establishment. Emily said, I got it in my purse. So they do a flashback to Gretchen. Those of you who watched the early years, they do a flashback to Gretchen doing burlesque. Remember when she did that burlesque? And to see Alexis and Jim Bellino was like, oh, oof. Because Emily wants Gretchen to let loose or whatever. So we're back at the wine tasting. She wants to make sure she can spit out the wine because she doesn't drink, and they're also going to bring her some mocktails. So Tamra says, do you like me again, Shannon? And it's like, here we go. And Shannon is like, yes, it's been super fun. You didn't have to give me the nice room. Tamara said, I'm trying to do everything. Tamara says, oh, and Jen likes me too. In her confessional, Gina said, this is really annoying to watch Tamara F everything up. Like, just don't talk, drink your wine, go with the flow. Back at the table, Tamara says, I'm so glad Shannon likes me right now. And Shannon says, this makes me really uncomfortable. Because we know that in Shannon's uncomfortability, she's going to be awkward, say something, her actions, and then that's going to be something for Tamara to jump on, right? So she like, child, this is uncomfortable. So back at the winery, now they're wrapped in blankets. Oh, we haven't left the winery yet. We're still back there. So we're still at the winery. Child, this is what my notes say. And they talking about the Hawk Tuah girl. Y'all remember that? You gotta spit on it. You gotta give the penis a spit start. And she became Hawk Tuah girl. Got a podcast, got all this stuff over talking about spit starting a penis. For those of y'all that don't know what the spit start means, it's the there you go. Well, more like you know what I mean to get it going. Shannon didn't know what the spit part was. In her confessional, Shannon says, I'm not a spitter, sorry. The producer says you're more of a swallower. She said, I swallow things when I drink. Ooh, certain things you talk about, your throat goes sour. She said, I swallow things when I drink them. I don't spit them. And then they start laughing. She goes, that doesn't sound good, right? Back at the fancy restaurant, they're eating tobacco caviar, I believe. Emily says, I don't want to eat anything that comes out of somebody's vagina. I said, girl, I'm so over. Calm down, Taria. But Heather laughs and says, well, girl, what are you talking about? So Heather says she loves being in Beverly Hills because Emily asked her the difference, Beverly Hills, Orange County. She says she loves being in Beverly Hills. She's taking classes at the Groundlings. One of the girls wrote a musical. Heather was in it. She said she started her career in theater. She's taken vocal lessons. She's joined acting classes. So she's really just being able to live out and do all the things she wants to do in LA. Back at the winery, Shannon said, so Heather's taking comedy classes. And Tamara says, Heather wants to do comedy. And they all laugh. And Shannon says, from my understanding, Jen said, I can't see Heather doing improv. And Gina said, I've never known her to be a comedian. But it was funny because I think those reactions were actually genuine. They weren't like, okay, we're going to say that, bring up this. It was like, no, they actually were like, oh, okay. So Tamara says, I could see more. So Terry being a comedian. Back at, how do you, it was, do you say that restaurant, Crustaceans or Crustacea? Back at that restaurant, Emily says, look, when I was out with Jen the other day, Jen asked me, did I think that you kind of give Tamara's behavior a pass because you're scared of her? Heather immediately, she didn't break a sweat. She didn't stop. She was eating. She said, and what was your response? And I feel like the look on Emily's face, she wasn't quite expecting that. She was like, I mean, because Heather, it was smooth. Oh, what was your response? I ain't breaking a sweat. I'm eating. So they show a flashback to Emily and Jen being out. And Emily says, I believe Heather pacifies Tamara because she doesn't want to get into it with her because she can't deal with Tamara's aggressiveness. So back in the scene, Emily tells Heather, I don't know, but I might have said you did. Heather said, first of all, Jen's statement is BS. Like her looking over at Tamara's behavior. She said when she met with Tamara, she was trying to explain how she felt thrown away. And on the lie detector, they bring up the lie detector test. And one of the questions was, are you scared of Tamara? And she said, I said yes, because my brain went back to this is really scary, everything that's going on. But in her confessional, she says, I'm the only person that told Tamara I was upset with her after the New Orleans trip. Because we know Heather and Tamara met up and Heather expressed how she was upset. She said, I'm the only person that told her that. All the other ladies bark, 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 bark. But then they see Tamara and they're like, I'm so sorry. And that is true. They show Persian New Year's at Emily's and all the ladies were, oh, so upset. So this, but then they were, Tamara, we're so sorry. Just let us know. Let us be there. So I can agree with Heather on that. Back at the winery, the ladies are done. They go for a walk. Of course, Shannon falls. Her heels were getting in all the holes. Gina is talking to Tamara and says, how do you think it's going with Shannon and Jen? And Tamara said, I think Shannon is being careful. She holds grudges. Gina said, well, Jen seems to want to move forward, but she's really upset that you showed that photo to Heather. Tamara said, it wasn't like I showed some ugly picture of her. Gina said, well, that's how it was presented. So Tamara's like, oh, wait. So it was presented to Jen like I showed an ugly picture. Gina says, well, Heather says a fatty photo. Heather did not say that. We show a flashback. Heather used the word heavier, not fatty. Tamara says, well, I didn't know it was presented as a fat photo. So Gina said, when you tell me Tamara pulled out a fat photo, that's what I hear. But the problem is ain't nobody tell you that. That's just what you heard. Gina tells Tamara, if that's not what it is, fix it. Tamara says, I get blamed for everything because you do everything. I mean, you ain't the only one. And you don't get blamed. They're calling you out on your stuff. Back at the winery, the girls go to dinner. Their salad looked really good. And I'm not like a foodie person like that. So like I wish that I'm not gonna say I wish, but some people like can look at food and it brings them enjoyment and this. I like eating what I like to eat, but food doesn't bring me that rush of endorphins. You know what I mean? But that salad, I've seen that salad, and for some reason, I've been craving salad lately. That salad looks so good and refreshing. With a nice glass of wine, piece of steak, some taters. Anyway, Tamara says to Jen, Gina brought up something to me on our walk, and they bring up the fatty photo. Tamara said, I never said fat. Jen said, what was the intent? Just be completely honest with me. What was the intent behind showing it? Because I think that's Jen's thing. What were you showing Heather that for? Tamara said to show that you changed. You've really completely changed. You were a girl who used to be super insecure, and then you just changed completely. In her confessional, Jen said, yeah, I've lost weight in the past couple of years. When I was married, I was lonely. So when the kids were napping, I wasn't even hungry, and I was eating snacks because something about food made her happy. In her confessional, Tamara says her boobs are constantly out. She wears tight things. I don't know if it's just the influence from Ryan. I heard he likes tits on a stick, and that's pretty much what Jen is. I Okay, we're gonna keep moving. We're gonna keep moving. I said, Tamara always hearing something. I heard, but anyway, Jen said, where did I show you a difference in our friendship though? You're saying that I changed, and that was a good point on Jen's, that was good on Jen's point. Where did I show you a difference in our friendship? Tamara said it started becoming a problem when we went to Cabo, and Ryan's like, I'm in love with Jennifer. And I go, she's married. And he says, I know, but she's going to leave her husband. And I felt bad because here we had just had Will over to our home. So here's my thing. You're saying she's trying to make it about her and Eddie. Me and Eddie were put in such a terrible situation. But you knew what was going on with Jen and Ryan, so you still chose to hang out with them. You could have said, look, I'm not hanging out with any of y'all until y'all get this settled. So Tamara's trying to make it about her. We were put in the middle. We were put in the middle. Come on. And as she was saying that, I was like, because she said that she felt dirty. And I immediately, when she said that, thought she was still married to Simon when she started dating Eddie. Didn't Eddie have an affair? I literally said that. And I don't mean separated. Like, yes, sometimes people are still legally married and they know they're getting a divorce and they may start dating other people. From what I understood, she messed around with Eddie on Simon, right? I literally thought that as soon as Tamara brought that up. And sure enough, Shannon in her confessional says, Tamara, can you look in the mirror? You were married to Simon when you met Eddie. Now, again, maybe her and Simon were already in the process of getting a divorce and basically were like, we're done with each other. I don't know. But I believe Simon said she was having an affair. But then again, I don't know if Simon is all that credible, right? I don't know. So, but I definitely was on the same lines as Shannon. Tamara tells Jen, I'm sorry for questioning you. I'm sorry for showing you the picture and it was wrong. And I think because, again, Jen made a very good point. You say I changed, but how did I change in our friendship? If I was consistent in our friendship, then it has nothing to do with you, me deciding to change my look. Tamara changed her look. She was different when she first started the show than to when she got with Eddie and started bodybuilding and doing all this stuff. Somebody could say, well, we heard Eddie likes tits on a stick. Right? So anyway, Gina says, yeah, it was wrong. Jen says, can I see the picture? Tamara said, was I being a little shady? Yeah. And then she shows her the picture. Jen says, but why do you go there? It's just such BS. If my daughter did that to one of her friends and she's 14, I would tell her you're being a little bitch. And I was like, that's right, Jen, let her know. Like, if my 14-year-old showed a picture of what her friend used to look like, I would let her know that's wrong. In her confessional, Jen said she showed the picture because she has low self-esteem and she's insecure. So she had to find a photo basically of Jen to make herself feel better. At the table, Tamara says, I apologize. It was bad for me to do. Jen said, I don't feel like I knew. I'm new. I feel like I'm myself finally for the first time in 47 years. And I think the problem is you don't like the new me. I said, come on, Jen. Tamara said, I actually love that you are stronger and have more of a voice. I'm telling you that I'm sorry. What do you want from me, blood? A person, when you give an apology, if you truly mean it, you can tell the person, look, I truly, from the bottom of my heart, am sorry. I know you may not be ready to move forward yet. Because Jen hadn't got all the answers from Tamara that she wanted. Why did you show the photo? What was the intent? Can I see the photo you showed? Like all of these things, right? So she was getting pieces. So Jen has a right to still ask her questions, but when people say, "Well, I've already apologized," that don't mean I got to jump right back in and trust you. So I was glad that Jen was finally holding her own using her voice. So she said, "What do you want? What do you want from me, blood?" Shannon said, "Tamara, you don't take accountability. You go so low when you get mad, and we all need to say, oh, that's okay. Tamara can go low because that's just who she is." And y'all know I always say I can't stand when somebody uses that as an excuse. That's just who they are. Well, this is just who I am. Like, no, we don't. That's not an excuse. Um, she said, Tamara, you go low. Tamara said, well, the thing is, you do it behind everybody's back because you don't want people to know. I said, here we go. I get it. Somebody's coming at you. You may feel like they do the same thing, but in a different way. But we talking about you right now. And they have all done it, having drinks, talking behind each other's back or whatever. But some of the stuff you say is, I mean, it's all toxic. Let's be clear. Shannon and Tamara's friendship. So Shannon says, I like you, Tamara. And Tamara says, oh, you have a funny way of showing it. Tamara said, but I have reservations because you and I have just been in this cycle for years, right? Oh, she says, you say, I miss you, I love you, I miss you, I love you, but then it's turbulent again. So Tamara says, what about the 10 years I've been there for you for your divorce? Shannon said, but you also said I sucked the life out of you. So yeah, you're saying, what about the 10 years I've been there for you? But you're also saying that I sucked the life out of you. And Tamara says, because you do. Well, then why do you want to make up and be as close as we once were? Because we could be moving forward and just having fun in this moment. But you want to make it awkward for me. You want me to want to feel close to you again. It's like a game. So I'm with Shannon on this one. Okay, you keep talking about you've been my girl. You was there for me for 10 years, but you said I've sucked the life out of you. So why are you trying again now? Especially with Tamara saying you do. So I 100% get it. So Shannon says, you haven't been in my life in over a year and I've never been better without you. Gina said, no, 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 no. That was funny. Tamara says, I'm happy for you. Shannon said, I don't know if you realize how hard last year was because there was not one time that you didn't come after me. Here go Tamara. Well, I was hurt. Tamara's justification always is, I was hurt, you did this, so I went low. But there have been times when she started it, and the people's reaction is because they were hurt. So if I start something, if I do something to you, and then your reaction is low because I hurt you, I then can't come back and do a lower reaction because I'm hurt. I started it, point blank. Tamara is always, I was hurt, I was hurt. So I just child. So Shannon said, apparently it's okay and justifiable to call me a drunk. And what did she say? A cunt and an alcoholic every single time you see me. Tamara said, I don't want to go backwards. You are, which you don't like when the other ladies do, but I don't want to go backwards. But you would drink and you would say things that were not great about people. It's like, here we go. Like you and Heather were sitting in a room drinking and you brought up a photo of Jen and was saying nasty things about her, how she wanted to be you. Shannon said, okay, okay. Tamara said, even Gina said you're concerned about your drinking right now. Gina said, well, Shannon was quick. What do you mean? Gina says, I worried about you. And Shannon's like, and then we end on a to be continued. Cha, I said, here we go. It's about to be round two, part two. What did y'all think of the episode? Are y'all enjoying OC or are you just watching it because it's a housewife show? You know, those housewife shows we have. I've said this before, we put it in the background, but you listen. What do y'all think? I'm glad that Jen is finding her voice and holding Tamara's feet to the fire. Like, I'm just not letting you slide. And I'm glad Shannon spoke up when she did as well. Again, I go back to I wish some of the things that the people feel about Tamara, they wouldn't just say in their confessionals, they would say to her, but maybe we'll get there. But y'all let me know what y'all think about this episode and make sure you let me know what trip you would have rather been on. Love y'all, and I will talk to y'all later. See ya.